Hello again, it's Kyle with a video discussing the New California movement. It's a movement of people that want to divide California into two states, create the new state of New California that would be the 51st state in the Union, and the idea is to basically have a bunch of interior, more rural counties separate themselves from the mostly urban coastal counties of the state. And through the years, there have been all kinds of ideas like this and all different types of states, to separate this state from that one, or various secession movements. And most of them are just pretty crazy ideas from crazy people, and it goes absolutely nowhere. But this New California movement appears to be a little more organized. These people are a lot more gung-ho about this, and they're taking it very seriously. It's pretty well organized, and they've done a lot of research into the subject, citing all kinds of articles of the Constitution and various treaties that have been signed through the years. And this has just come up in January of 2018. And as of the time of me posting this video, there are approximately 20 other videos on YouTube discussing this. About 15 of them are completely political, just biased towards one side or the other. And the other 5 are just kind of generic news coverage of it, just kind of basically going over the basic topics of the issue. But there is no video online. No one's talking about this issue from just a nerdy geographical standpoint, from just an objective point of view. And so in this video, I do want to discuss this issue from a nerdy geographical objective point of view, because there really isn't much you're going to find on this issue that isn't politically biased. I'm going to look at 3 major aspects of this issue. The first will be analyzing the map of the state and looking at which counties the New California movement wants to take to form the new state. The second will be to see if this is actually even feasible in the first place. And the third will be to see if this is something that would actually achieve their goals, and if it's possibly counterproductive than what they want to achieve. And this is not a political video. It's not designed to be biased towards the right wing or the left wing. It's not designed to be something that is trying to push an agenda towards one way or another. I just really think it's important that there is an actual objective geographical look at this issue, because there really isn't much out there that isn't biased. The motivation behind this is, of course, politics, and essentially what you have is a group of politically conservative counties within the state that feel marginalized by the state government in Sacramento that is run mostly by liberals, and I can understand the frustration with that. California has the highest state income tax in the country. There may be other taxes you don't like, and the state might adopt policies you don't agree with and might support things you just don't want. And I can understand why you feel like your voice is not being heard by the state government, but at the same time, this is not something that is unique to California. This goes on in every single state in the country. There's no such thing as a politically homogeneous state. I went to graduate school in Columbia, South Carolina. That's a very liberal city and a very conservative state. The Raleigh-Durham, Chapel Hill area of North Carolina is also very liberal and a conservative state. Austin, Texas is one of the most liberal cities in the entire country. And at the other side of the spectrum, you've got, say, Spokane, Washington, a very conservative city and a liberal state. There are conservative parts of upstate New York. There are conservative parts of Illinois. So it's nothing that's unique to California. And liberals that live in conservative states hate the policies there, and conservatives in liberal states hate the policies there too. So it's just the way it is. And say New California breaks off, and there will be liberals in that state. Are they going to break off from New California and form New California? So where does it end? And so the people of New California, the movement, have to kind of accept the fact they're the political minority of the state. But I do want to go over why this whole idea is not a very good idea, and why I don't think it was thought out very well. I want to take a look at the map and examine some of these counties that have been chosen to be part of the New California. And when I first saw the map, I was like, really? Some of these counties don't make much sense. So here's a list of some of the counties that have been chosen to be part of New California. And I'm going to be reading this here. San Diego County went 56-37 for Clinton in 2016 and voted for Obama twice. Orange County went 51-42 for Clinton. And historically, Orange County has been conservative, but it's changed a lot in recent years. It's much more moderate now. Riverside County went 50-44 for Clinton. It was dead even in 2012 and voted for Obama in 2008. San Bernardino County went 52-41 for Clinton and voted for Obama twice. Imperial County in the southeast corner of the state went 68-26 for Clinton and voted for Obama twice in a landslide. Contra Costa County in the East Bay area went 68-25 for Clinton and voted for Obama twice in a landslide. Yolo County, just west of Sacramento, went 67-25 for Clinton and Obama twice in a landslide. Lake County, just north of wine country, went 47-43 for Clinton, with most of the rest of the votes going to the Green Party candidate, and went for Obama twice in a landslide. And the two counties that I saw included, I almost had to laugh when I saw them, were Mendocino and Humboldt. And if you know much about California, you know that Mendocino and Humboldt are two of the most liberal counties in the entire country, not just California. And even some of the counties in the San Joaquin Valley are not as conservative as you might think. For example, Merced County, 53-41 for Clinton, voted for Obama twice. Fresno County, 49-43 for Clinton. It did vote for Mitt Romney in 2012, and it went for Obama in 2008. Stanislaus County, which is Modesto, narrowly voted for Clinton and then narrowly voted for Obama twice. San Joaquin County voted for Clinton and Obama twice, although I'm pretty sure old California would be more than willing to let new California have San Joaquin County. It's like, no, you guys can take Stockton. We don't want it. It's yours. But seriously, though, new California, they can't just pick and choose the counties they want because it would benefit them. The people of these counties will get a chance to vote and say whether or not they want to leave old California to join this new state. So let's take a look at why some of these liberal counties were chosen to be part of this conservative movement. San Diego and Imperial counties are the two that border Mexico, and the New California movement supports building a wall along the Mexican border. Well, I can guarantee you right now, San Diego and Imperial counties want nothing to do with a Mexican border wall, so you can forget about that. It's not going to happen. Contra Costa County was chosen because it sits along the San Francisco Bay Area, and they want access to the Pacific Ocean through a port. But again, it's a liberal county. They're not going to join New California. Mendocino and Humboldt counties were chosen because they have a lot of water there. The climate is much more like the Oregon or Washington coast. You have a lot of rain during the winter, and New California would be entirely dependent on agriculture, and they would need that water. But the number one part of the economy in Mendocino and Humboldt counties is marijuana cultivation, and it's unlikely that New California would have legalized marijuana. There's no way that Mendocino and Humboldt are going to leave to join New California. So again, you can't just pick and choose the counties you want. They'll get to say whether or not they leave, and you're not going to get these liberal counties to join this new conservative state. So, for the sake of this New California, you're just going to have the conservative counties. And the conservative counties in California are Del Norte, Siskiyou, Modoc, Trinity, Shasta, Lassen, Plumas, Tehama, Sierra, Yuba, Sutter, Colusa, Glen, Placer, El Dorado, Amador, Calaveras, Tuolumne, Mariposa, Madera, Tulare, Kings, and Kern, and Inyo. So those are the conservative counties in the state. And let's say for the sake of argument that Fresno, Merced, Stanislaus, and San Joaquin counties do choose to leave and join New California to be with their Valley brothers, which I can understand because I'm from the Valley myself. But for the remainder of this video, I'm going to consider New California to be just the state, just the part of the state that actually is conservative, because you're not going to get these liberal counties to join you. Let's say that New California does come to fruition and it becomes the 51st state in the Union. What would this new state have to do to become viable, to get its feet off the ground? Well, immediately they have to establish a government. And no matter how much you hate government, you have to have one. You can't have anarchy. And that means establishing a capital. Well, where would the capital be? Having a state government located there would be a huge economic boon for that city and county. It would provide a nice little bit of stability. And because of that, I'm sure plenty of cities would like to be the capital. And you'd have all kinds of tremendous infighting in determining where it would be. Fresno would be by far the largest city in the state, followed by Bakersfield, Stockton, and Modesto, and it might very well be that all four of those would like to be the capital. Well, how would you decide? Do the people of Stanislaus County have to fight the people of Kern County to determine where it's going to be? Or it might be the exact opposite. Maybe nobody wants to be the capital. It would change your city a lot. I know the city that I'm from, Visalia, would not want to be the capital because it would just transform the city in a tremendous way. And you couldn't pick a small town like Red Bluff. Red Bluff's a nice little town. They wouldn't want to be the capital either. It would just change it too much. You would also have to establish a major university. There wouldn't be a major university in this entire state, not a single medical school or veterinary school either. And how would you determine where this is going to be? I'm sure all the universities of the state would like to be the one with the med school or the vet school. And the only law school in the whole state would be the University of the Pacific, which is a private school. And ironically enough, the law school for UOP is in Sacramento. But anyway, you'd have to determine where these things are going to be. So you'd have all kinds of tremendous infighting right off the bat in determining the locations of these spots. But those wouldn't be the only obstacles facing this new state. They will also have to establish emergency services and first responder agencies. That means highway patrol, bureau investigation, fire protection, and emergency management. You can't just say, well, there's a CHP office in Reading, that'll become ours when we become our own state. No. Old California is going to pull the funding for it, including all the equipment and resources associated with it. If there's a huge fire in the Sierra Nevada, it's not going to be Cal Fire that responds to it. You're going to have your own fire agency. Say Mount Lassen blows its top. It's not going to be Cal OES that responds to it. You're going to be on your own. So you won't be able to rely on the huge resources from the giant state of California to help you out with these huge emergencies. You're going to be on your own. All of these aforementioned things will be very expensive to get started. It will cost billions of dollars to get this state established. And at the same time, they're talking about lowering taxes. How can you lower taxes when you have to spend billions of dollars to get your state moving forward? And one of the points of contention that New California movement has with Sacramento is the high state income tax rate. So if you lower the state income tax rate, you're significantly lowering the amount of revenue you're generating. So how can you make up that revenue that you're not collecting from state income tax? Well, they like to use Texas as an example. People think Texas is a low-tax state. Texas is not a low-tax state. It has very high sales tax. It has some of the highest property taxes in the country. Texas calls itself business friendly, but it taxes small business inventory. If you're a small business owner in Texas, you have to pay property taxes on your inventory. You don't do that in California. And so if New California wants to lower income tax, what are they going to start doing? Are they going to have to start charging property tax to small business owners? Are they going to start charging sales tax on groceries and services? You don't pay sales tax on groceries and services in California. I get the impression that they want to keep lowering and lowering taxes, but not lowering spending enough to keep up with the low tax rates, which is exactly what Kansas did. And look what happened with Kansas. Kansas is bankrupt. They kept lowering taxes more and more, but they didn't really lower spending that much, and Kansas is in dire economic straits. Kansas is the poster child of what not to do with your economy, and yet New California wants to do the exact same thing. So you take all that into consideration, you're going to have all kinds of economic issues, and again, you're going to have even more infighting amongst this New California because you're going to have to raise some type of tax to make up for the lost revenue you're not going to be generating from the state income tax. Furthermore, New California would not be able to rely upon the revenue sharing it currently gets by being part of California. At a national scale, California represents 12% of the U.S. population, but 14% of the U.S. GDP, which means California does more for the federal government than the federal government does for it, as opposed to the southeastern states that take more from the federal government than they pay in. And within California, it's the same thing. The old California counties they're trying to break away from provide a larger percentage of the California state GDP than their percentage of the population, which means the new California counties are relying on the old California counties to help balance their budget. And I always find that mighty ironic that conservatives complain about the redistribution of wealth, but it's the conservative states and counties that benefit from that redistribution of wealth. And liberals are always complaining about how these southern states and these rural counties are taking from them, but they're perfectly fine with the redistribution of wealth at a personal level. So there's hypocrisy on both sides. But within New California, they will no longer be able to rely on this revenue sharing from the state. And so they're talking about lowering taxes while raising spending and having no revenue sharing by being part of the larger state. I mean, I wasn't that good at math in school, but even I can figure that one out. And it would not just be these economic issues that would cause this new state to struggle. There would be political issues as well. Even though this would likely be a Republican state, not all Republicans agree on everything. And one issue that would cause a tremendous amount of infighting would be the issue of illegal immigration. The vast majority of the population of this new state would be in the San Joaquin Valley. The valley is entirely dependent upon agriculture, and agriculture is dependent upon illegal immigrants. And so even though the farming community of the valley tends to be very conservative on the issue of illegal immigration, these tend to not be the kick out the Mexicans crowd. So likely nothing would change in terms of illegal immigrants, which would infuriate the people of the northeast part of the state that tend to be more white nationalist because you don't have an agricultural sector there and they don't rely upon the illegal immigrants. Another factor that would have an adverse impact on the economy would be the issue of population growth. Right now, a big part of the economy in the valley is people from the Bay Area or down south selling their expensive homes and buying one in the valley with cash. Well, you'll no longer be able to rely upon that because people from the Bay Area or down south aren't going to move to the valley, which is now out of state, to a state that has the politics more like Alabama. So you won't be able to rely upon the population growth in that regard. And the northeastern corner of the state has virtually no population growth at all. The population is basically flatlined, so you're not going to have much growth up there either. And the vast majority of the population growth is going to be within the Mexican community, which would again infuriate the people in the northeast corner of the state that tend to be more white nationalist. And that's a nice segue to my next point, and that this new California movement will likely be counterproductive from what they're trying to achieve. With no population growth at all in the northeast corner of the state, the vast majority of the population of this new California would be in the San Joaquin Valley, and the vast majority of the population growth would be within the Mexican community. And so by about 2030 or 2040, New California would become the first state with a Mexican majority population. How conservative do you think a state with a Mexican majority is going to be? It won't be conservative at all. It'll likely have 2 Democratic senators, and this New California movement is going to only benefit liberals and the Democratic Party, which is the group of people they're trying to get away from. I don't think the people behind this New California movement have put much thought into this. They're clearly fueled by political rage, the whole, oh, damn liberals, it's all their fault. But they clearly don't understand the geography of California or the economics. And you take a look at the people that are behind this movement, and what do you see? You might say, well, I see a bunch of white people, but what I see is a bunch of old people. Nobody in this group is under the age of 60. So you've got some people that don't understand geography or economics, and they're really old. And this whole issue is about geography, economics, and the future. So there's a huge problem with that. I think the New California folks need to sit back, take a deep breath, and put a lot more thought into this. Something else that bothers me is that a lot of the people that are driving this issue are conservatives from other parts of the country. They're from back east. If there's something that all Californians can agree on, doesn't matter if you're Daryl Issa or Dianne Feinstein or Devin Nunes, if there's something we can all agree on, is that we don't give a crap what people back east think. People back east can take their humidity and their hurricanes and their severe thunderstorms and their tornadoes and their golf ball-sized hail and their 1,000-year floods and their mosquitoes and their no-see-ums and their cicadas that won't shut up all night. You can take all that and shove it up your butt pucker. We don't care what people back east think. And that goes for you too, ESPN and your East Coast sports bias. And by the way, people from California say Minnesota and Oklahoma and Louisiana is back east. So we don't care what you think. Keep your East Coast stuff to yourself and leave California alone. As a side note, I love it when people use their iPhones and iPads and MacBooks to search Google and YouTube to find things to post on Facebook about how much California sucks. Seriously, there are people doing that right now. I think ultimately the problem is that people think that changing the politics of where you live is going to change your life. The politics of where you live has no impact whatsoever on your day-to-day life. I moved from California to Tennessee, and people were like, oh man, that must have been a huge change for you. And I was like, yeah, that was a huge change. And they were like, yeah, because now you have to put up with all these rednecks and conservatives. I'm like, that's not why my life changed. I can sum up how my life changed in one word: humidity. That's what affects your life, the climate. It determines what you're going to wear that day, what your plans are going to be that day, whether or not your outdoor plans are going to be canceled. I had a camping trip planned for last weekend, but it got canceled because it was storming all weekend. That's what affects your day-to-day life. If you're a conservative that lives in Alturas or Weaverville or Susanville or something, go spend a summer in Texas and tell me how wonderful you think Texas is. Go down to Mississippi or Louisiana in August. Tell me how wonderful that is. You know, say you live in Mississippi. Would you rather live in North Dakota where the politics are the same? Or would you rather live in Columbia, South Carolina with a bunch of liberals? Of course you'd rather live in Columbia because you'd rather live somewhere you're used to. You want to live in the South. And say you're some liberal. You think Canada's a great place? Why don't you move to Canada? Of course, it's freezing cold up there. You're not going to move to Canada. That's what affects your day-to-day life is the climate, not the politics. So changing the state you live in, changing the state government, changing the politics doesn't matter. You're paying taxes no matter where you live. In California, you're paying high income tax. In Texas, you're paying high property tax. In South Carolina, you're paying high car taxes. In Tennessee, you're paying the most ridiculously high sales taxes. It doesn't matter. The man's taking your money no matter which way he's taking it from. So don't change the politics of where you live thinking it's going to impact your life, because it won't. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give me a thumbs up to let me know you approve. And if you're interested in stuff about road tripping across the US, nerdy geographical stuff, or just some interesting travel info, please subscribe to my channel. But yeah, thanks for watching. Geography King signing out and about to go order a double-double animal style.